Thank you, Melissa, and I'm honored to be here this evening with all of the candidates who we invited are all present and accounted for, so we're good. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization founded over a century ago to encourage informed and active participation in government. The League works to influence public policy through education and advocacy. Moderating candidate forums is only one of the many functions that we do each year. Membership is open to everyone. And there are some membership brochures over on this table, also some other information about voting, especially for special audiences. I thank everyone tonight, especially all the candidates, because every one of them has responded to the League's online voters guide, vote411.org. And I believe if you were able to pick out one of these cards, if there are enough on the table, they do tell you what you can do at Vote 411. It's kind of like one-stop shopping. In addition to the candidates, there is also a description, an explanation of the Clean Water, Clean Air, Green Job Environment Bond issue. The pro and con examples of pro and con reasons for voting. That will be found on the back of the ballot. It's a very important issue for New York State and all of us. So please learn about it and be prepared to vote for or against it. So tonight we're essentially doing 4 forums. We're going to be videotaping them each separately. A candidate must be present at a forum conducted by the League to speak and to distribute any campaign information. Presentations are to be strictly confined to issues, not personalities. The order of opening stations has been determined by a draw. Essentially, the first person from each office that was here got to draw, and then the second person had what was left. Closing statements we made in reverse order. This evening, our staff for the forum is Mary Egan, who is the timekeeper, and she has an orange card that gives a 1-minute warning for the candidates, a 30-second yellow card, and of course the red card is stop. Please finish the sentence you're speaking, candidates, when the stop sign comes up. Mary Basho and Elaine Cusker are collecting the question cards. This is a dialogue between the audience and the candidates. So you provide the questions, they provide the answers. We have only questions that can be answered by both candidates. And this evening our question screener is Timothy Priano. So all the questions will get up to Timothy, and he'll hand them to me. And then our videographer tonight is League President Lori Robinson. She's looking forward to another career. The recording will be available in its entirety on the League's YouTube channel and our website. Only licensed media, including TV, radio, and newspapers, are entitled to air portions of the recording in keeping with Federal Communications Commission regulations. All others who air the recording may do so only in its entirety. It is the only recording of the event that is approved. League policy requires that no one in the audience records the event or any portion of it, and no one is permitted to publicly display edited footage or quotes in any manner. Now, each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for an opening statement, And actually, Mr. Higgins and Mr. Sams, you can come on up and have a seat. And the questions will be asked in rotating order. We also request that you refrain from applause until the end so that we can get more questions involved. Okay, so without further ado, Mr. Higgins, you are number one, so will you please make your opening statement? And there's one other thing, and there's a green card on the podium. If anyone would like me to repeat a question, just raise the green card. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being here, and to the League of Women Voters for consistently promoting our democracy by inviting and participating, organizing these candidate forums. They're very, very important. And everybody that's running for office, they're all good people, working very, very hard toward the goal of trying to make our communities better. When I first ran for Congress in 2004, I made a commitment to this community, not to be a Washington-based congressman, but to be a West New York-based congressman. And I believe that we have made major, substantial changes for the better, from our waterfront to our downtown area and to the suburban areas as well. Amherst is a unique place. It's a very safe place. It has a highly effective police force. A month ago, there was a $270,000 grant for crime prevention that is very important, going to 3 communities. Amherst was one of them. We have also secured infrastructure money, $15 million for the town, including $3 million for Main Street to make it more pedestrian friendly and pedestrian safe, which is also important. Through the American Rescue Plan, we secured $15 million for the town, and we will continue to deliver good services, or monies from the federal government to provide good services to the good people of this community. Thank you.
Before Mr. Sams begins, please hold your cards up when you have questions. All right. Hold your cards up and we'll pick them up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sams, and many of you don't know who I am because I've never been involved in politics before. I spent a lifetime and a career in the military. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for setting this up, the Amherst Senior Center for hosting it, Congressman Higgins, thank you for attending. And also, are there any military veterans in here tonight? I'd like to thank you for your service. Thank you for what you've done for our country. We greatly appreciate you. Like I said, my name is Sams, and I am a military retiree. I'm also an Amherst resident. And I've never done this before, so if I look a little nervous and I don't quite get the answers out, you know why, because it's my first time. Why am I running? I'm running because there are a lot of things that have gone wrong in our nation and in our government. And the biggest thing is nobody's willing to compromise anymore. Everyone has their party that they sided with, they have their ideas, and they don't seem to want to listen to the other side too much. I'm not one of those people. I'll listen to anybody from any group, from any political voting bloc, demographic, income, doesn't matter. If you have something to say, I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to represent you. I'm going to fight for you the best I can. I served 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. And what brought me to wanting to run for office was the Afghan withdrawal. I spent 9 months in Bagram and I lost 5 good friends over there. And I didn't go over there and have things that happen to come home and watch my country tear itself apart by partisan politics. I think it's got to end, and I hope that I can run honorably and serve honorably. And I hope that I can answer any questions that you guys have tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The first question is going to go to Mr. Higgins first. And then, Mr. Sams, you can just come up and begin answering. If you don't need the entire 2 minutes, then don't take it and we'll be able to do more questions. What is your opinion of President Biden's student loan forgiveness program?
I think the underlying issue is the cost of higher education. And a lot of people were pulled into situations at a very young age. It's hard to afford college in the first place, and then to have to take out loans and not be able to find a job to pay those loans back is very hard. There's always going to be controversy about things like that, but I believe in investing in people, particularly young people, to give them the opportunities that they need in order to become economically independent and self-sufficient. So I support the program.
Assuming that's the same question.
Yes.
What do I think about student loan forgiveness? Well, I have student loans, and I did receive a Pell Grant, so I am eligible to have my student loans forgiven. That being said, would I have voted for it? And no, I wouldn't have voted in favor of it. I made a commitment to pay off my student loans, and I intend to fulfill that commitment. We have many people that took out student loans for degrees that may not have been the best. Maybe some people should have gone to trade school, but it's not the people in this room's responsibility to pay for my student loans. It's my responsibility. I signed the contract, I'll pay for them. It shouldn't be hoisted on the everyday taxpayer. And it's one of those things that we could spend money in a different way, not paying off things that people said that they would do that they're not going to do.
And you may stay right up there, Mr. Sams, because you get to go first, okay? The next question is, what is the greatest challenge to our nation that you expect to deal with during the upcoming term?
That is a heavily loaded question. There are so many, but the biggest challenge that we have is our polarization, our division. Because it doesn't matter what other problems we have, if we can't get to come together and come to a solution and fix the things together, because we're the United States of America. We're not the left side of the States of America or the right States of America. We're the United States of America. And if we can't be united and we can't come to terms and come to an agreement, there's no solution, that's no problem that's going to get fixed. So the biggest problem that we have is our division. That's what I believe. Thank you.
Well, I would also say it's our democracy. Our democracy is hard work, and citizenship is a team sport. And obviously, it requires consensus. There's 435 members of Congress. Everybody can't have their own way. But there is a way to civilly resolve differences. And we did a bipartisan infrastructure bill, which was the largest investment in infrastructure in the history of the nation. When you compare it with the New Deal, it was done in 3 iterations, $41 billion at the time, today's dollars, about $875 billion. So this $1 trillion infrastructure will bring money into Amherst, into Buffalo, into Niagara Falls. It will create jobs and it will incentivize private sector investment to follow that infrastructure. Again, that was done on a bipartisan basis. There should be more bipartisanship in Washington. We're dealing with a very difficult time right now, but we need to recognize that we have a common tradition, and that is a government that resolves its differences in a civil and respectful way, and that is still possible and still occurring in Washington.
Okay, thank you. And you get to go first. Mr. Higgins, right. What's up about some kind of rail extension, such as Metro Rail or an FTA, coming north to Audubon Parkway? Yikes. But if it says Toluca, I understand that's what it says. I think it was going to comment. Okay, so rail extension.
So the issue is, as you probably know, in the mid-'70s during a energy crisis, the federal government provided a lot of money to do light rapid rail transit systems. The Buffalo system was supposed to extend out to Amherst, but because of a lot of controversy and delay, it was only 6.5 miles. So now there's an effort by the NFTA to extend that to Amherst again. Here's my problem with it. But this is a large public issue that everybody should participate in, and there is a public review process in the planning of it. We are spending tens of millions of dollars to fix what the light rapid rail transit system destroyed in downtown Buffalo. It destroyed the commercial district of downtown, and we are returning cars to Main Street. And as we are doing that, there's new viability to all of those buildings that have been vacant for many, many decades because of it. So these kinds of decisions are community decisions, and the importance of light rapid rail transit is very, very important here. But there's also the destruction of properties and property values that occurs when you're condemning property and taking it for that purpose. So there are other projects that I think should be a higher priority, like fixing the system that we have now, and I've stated that very clearly and very publicly.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What is up about some kind of rail extension coming north as far as Audubon Parkway? And the maker of the question said, yikes, but if that's too local, I understand.
So I believe that the person's asking what's going on with the thought of extending the rail project. Now, there are people in the community that want the rail extended into Amherst and extended to Audubon Parkway. Is that the best place for it? That's what we'll have to get to know. You know, we'll have to ask the community and see what the community wants. Should we extend the Metro Rail to some part of Amherst? Absolutely, because there's a lot of people that live in Amherst that work downtown and they want to take the rail. They don't want to drive in the wintertime. They don't want to pay for parking. They don't want to, waste the gas. They want to be, friendly to the environment and not have to drive down there. The Metro Rail is running anyways. They could take it. So is there a way that we could bring the Metro Rail to Amherst? Yes. Does it need a lot of repair and a lot of modifications and rehabbing? Yes. But there's a way that we can do it. And the best way to do it is by listening to the community, listening to the people, and finding out what's best for them. If they decide that they don't want it, then that's the best way to go. If they decide that they do want it, then we need to find out a way to facilitate it and make it happen. Thank you.
All right, and Mr. Sams again. What can you do about high inflation, high taxes, and high food costs?
Well, high taxes, that's definitely something that we can look at. What are we taxing and how are we taxing it? Like Florida just decided that they're not going to tax baby diapers or formula anymore. That's a good idea. Maybe we should do that across the whole nation. Gas prices, it's a little bit of the U.S. and it's a lot of it of the world. Now inflation, the thing that drove up inflation is a lot of spending. And there's a lot of things that we spend money on that we want to spend money on that we didn't necessarily need to spend it on right now. We were just coming out of a pandemic and it killed a lot of jobs. It wrecked a lot of businesses and it put a lot of people out of work and in financial stress. I think I was talking to the county clerk, and there's 6,000 homes that are on the foreclosure list. That's going to hurt a lot of families. A lot of people are still hurting. And when you spend a lot of money on things that you want to spend on instead of things that you need to spend on, that's when inflation goes up. And that's what's hurting people on a daily basis. There's people that have to decide how much gas they're going to put in their car and how much food they're going to put on their table. There's a lot of people that normally buy certain types that they have to step down to a store brand or a name brand. I'm one of them. Today I went and I looked at the pasta, and the one that I normally get, I decided to get the Tops brand instead because it was half the price. You got to stretch and save your pennies everywhere you can. A lot of people are hurting for it. So it's the biggest thing to fight inflation is to stop spending money on things that we want to spend money on and start spending money on things that we absolutely need to spend on, and then cut where we can.
On the inflation issue, during the pandemic, as you all know, the federal government pushed out a lot of money, probably $4.5–5 trillion. And you have a situation where there's too much money chasing too few goods. So what is the underlying problem there? The underlying problem there is that America needs to make things again. We used to make things and sell them to the rest of the world. Now the rest of the world makes things and sells them to us. And with China, it's not about tennis shoes and sneakers and t-shirts. It's about high tech. It's about 5G. It's about artificial intelligence. It's about all of the things that we need to get back to create an economy that grows and presents opportunity for our people. Very, very important issue. And unfortunately, it was the pandemic that exposed a lot of the fragility of the American economy, including the fact that we don't make things anymore. We have a $25 trillion economy, which is 70% consumption. We need to get at least at an equal footing with manufacturing and consumption so that we can keep a hold on inflation, because right now there is global inflation. It's something that needs to be dealt with. Anyone that tells you, inflation is not a problem, it's a big problem. It's a big problem. And both Republicans and Democrats in Congress need to recognize it and do something about it.
Okay, thank you. And now you are first for the next question. Right, or did, am I ahead? Right, okay. Why or why not do you believe in term limits for all elected officials?
I don't believe in term limits. We have an electoral process. It should be respected, and I think it is. And if people decide that they want to vote somebody out of office, they can do that by exercising their right to vote.
Do I believe in term limits? 100% without a shadow of a doubt, I believe in term limits. There are people serving in our government right now that have been there for way too long. People that have forgotten what it's like to be a member of society. People that have forgotten what it's like to be a regular working person. People that have forgotten what it's like to come from the neighborhoods that they've come from. This was never meant to be a career. Public service was never meant to be a career. There are people that make a living out of it. There are people that make a fortune in public service for one reason or another. Do I support term limits? Without a doubt. Myself personally, I will not serve more than 10 years when elected. Won't happen. Because if I can't get the job done for my district in 10 years, I don't deserve to have a job. And even if I do a good job in 10 years, it's not meant to be forever. It's meant for me to come in, do the best job I can for my district, and let someone else step up and do the best job that they can for the district. So term limits, they should happen, 100%.
Okay, thank you. And now the next question. Let's see. What is the right for a woman to choose on her own relative to having an abortion?
What is the right for a woman to choose for her own?
Yeah. In other words, should a woman have the right to choose to get an abortion? That's basically what it's meaning.
Everyone has the right to choose what they want to do with their own life. Now, as far as abortion is concerned, I'll answer that question directly. New York has already passed a law that enshrines a woman's right to choose. There's no way that I can overturn that because I'm not running for New York. People ask me, well, what would you do on the federal level? Well, I have no idea. I haven't seen a piece of legislation, one's not crafted, and I couldn't answer it until I saw it. What is too far? What is not enough? I mean, there's a million different ways that you can go. What is my stance on abortion? I'm not a woman. I'll never be a woman. I'll never be pregnant. How can I make a decision for someone? Am I pro-life? Absolutely. Do I believe in protecting infants? Absolutely. But when it comes to the choice of abortion, I can't make that decision because I'm not a woman. And when it comes to voting on a particular piece of legislation, I would have to see the legislation, and then I would have to ask the members of my district what they want me to vote. Because especially something as personal as abortion, that's not an individual choice. That's the person's choice, not my choice. That's their choice. If people want me to vote yes, I'll vote yes. If people want me to vote no, I'll vote no. But it's up to the members of my district for something especially like abortion.
when the Supreme Court, in the Dobbs decision, overturned Roe v. Wade, they took away a right that was enshrined for many, many decades, going back to the 1970s. Reproductive health care of a woman should be a constitutional right. I'm not qualified to make a decision about those kinds of things. A woman, in consultation with her physician, is. When you look at the Supreme Court and you look at the Chief Justice admonishing his fellow colleagues to adhere to the principles of judicial restraint, and they ignored him, and then they all voted with them. So this is a big issue, and the Congress is in a position to reaffirm their constitutional right, and I'm prepared to support that.
Okay, thank you. And this will be our final question. Why should politicians be given better health care insurance than the people who pay for theirs?
Well, the health care that's available to members of Congress, just to clear something up, a lot of people are under the impression that members of Congress don't pay for health care or have reasonably priced health care. Not true. It's just not true. And you can look it up to verify that. So, I would disagree with the premise of the question that we have better health care. What I have done, and what I'm happy to have done, is pass the Affordable Care Act, which provided 25 million people with health care that otherwise didn't have. We are the only industrialized nation that does not provide quality health care to its citizens. It has had numerous beneficial impacts on our society, and we still need to go further. And we did most recently in the Inflation Reduction Act by providing funding for more individuals to afford health insurance through the Affordable Care Act.
Okay, thank you.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Why should politicians be given better health care insurance than the people who pay for theirs?
They shouldn't. I mean, that's the simple answer. The longer answer is there is nothing that elected officials should receive that's greater than the average everyday working person. There are people out there that can't afford their health insurance. Our veterans, I happen to be one of them. I have health insurance from the VA. I don't have dental coverage from the government. That's something that we should do. We have seniors out there that can't afford their prescriptions. We got kids that are taking pills for fun while our seniors can't afford prescriptions. I mean, there is the Affordable Care Act is a good idea. Doesn't seem very affordable for certain people in certain jobs and demographics. We can do better. There is a system there. I have some thoughts, some annual coverages, things that should be covered on a nationwide basis. There's improvements that can be made. Now, I hear a lot of people saying we need to repeal and replace. Okay, how about we just fix what we got instead of trying to repeal the whole thing and start over? Find out what the deficiencies are and fix them. But to go back to the original question, there should be nothing that an elected official has that's greater than anything that any one of the voters can't have.
And now it's time for closing statements. And so the first closing statement is, I believe it's you. Yep.
So my closing statement, I'm going to start by just saying thank you everyone for listening to me talk up here. I hope that you got a better understanding of who the candidates are. Congressman Higgins, thank you. League of Women Voters, thank you. At the end of the day, you've heard differences of opinions on things. But the one thing that I can assure you is that no matter which way you vote, the times are changing. People are starting to turn away from party politics because they realize that things have gone awry. If elected, I can promise you one thing. It doesn't matter what letters by my name. If it doesn't benefit you and it doesn't benefit my district, I won't vote for it. And on the other side, it doesn't matter what party introduces it. If it does benefit my district, I will vote for it. And I'll do the best job that I can, because that's all I know how to do. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you again, everybody, for being here. Thank you. I want to thank the league for the great work that they do, and I want to thank Mr. Sams for his military service in both Iraq and Afghanistan. I've been there many times, and we were fighting under some very, very difficult circumstances. So a lot of the work that we do in my district office is constituent service for veterans, and it's a very proud tradition in America. It's a very proud tradition in Western New York, and you are part of it. So I want to close by asking for your support in this election. My commitment to you, as it always has been, is to continue to work hard on behalf of this community, to push it forward, not just Buffalo and Niagara Falls, but the suburban areas as well. Everybody needs some help, and we are there to help you, to try to carve out a better future for all of us. And I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank all the other candidates that are here as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.